I want you to imagine something. Like, imagine it properly. Imagine you were the guy who actually liked doing the work, who had fun learning, getting ahead, starting new things. It's a different kind of rewarding enjoyment, but that's how it is for me now. Learning is something that innately makes us feel fulfilled and happy. But the issue is that school and education today has literally stomped those ideas out of us. And all of us have now just accepted this "I can't be bothered" attitude. So in this video, I'm gonna show you all the small and big things that I've done to change that. This is everything that I've done over years of studying to actually enjoy it, to the point where I'm now getting excited and kind of hyped up when I'm learning something new. Well, realistically, not all the time, but most of the time. But first, let's start with the quick method to create intrigue and curiosity in a single study session, and then we can dive a bit deeper. Creating intrigue and curiosity with a quick method. From a very early age, I realized that the way all the curriculums were laid out and the way we were taught in class was actually bull. And I can go on a huge rant about it, but I knew that I definitely would never end up enjoying the work, the actual studying and learning in school, if I just mindlessly did the homeworks and did the assignments that I was given. And as a humongous nerd, if I'm being honest, I actually wanted to have fun with the learning. I wanted to foster this interest and intrigue and curiosity when I'm learning something new. And with that sentiment that I thought of when I was like 10 probably, I even to this day always is a strong word, 70 to 80% of the time come into the work with a very strong, inquisitive, curious mindset. Practically what this means is first asking yourself 2 questions and then visualizing the topic that you're studying. The first question is, how is this interesting? Simple question, right? And then I visualize this interest. If you're learning about the heart, just imagine it working in your head. It is honestly incredible that this machine is inside our body, pumping away, every ventricle, every valve working in sync, perfect harmony. And then think about a heart disease, for example, how ischemia happens. I imagine the heart kind of just turning black, necrosed, getting damaged, and that eventually can then lead to a heart attack. And then you keep going with that and visualize it even more. Then the second important question that you need to ask yourself is, why do we need this? Again, so simple. Why do we need this could mean, why was this math equation invented? Or why do I need to know this concept for my life? Where else could it actually apply? One of the biggest issues with education today is that we don't ever make those first principles relevant and clear. We're taught a math formula or a concept without even understanding, why was this invented? Why is it needed? Why do I need to know this?
But why?
And if the derivation or something is mentioned, it's mentioned in the first 2 seconds of the lesson where literally no one cares about what you're talking about and people are just focused on what they need to know for the exam. So the quick, very underrated solution to make your studying more enjoyable is to actually think about 1, why what you're learning can be interesting. 2, take that to the next level by visualizing it. And 3, think about, why do we need this? What is the real life context? Why do I need to know it? Simple questions that just require a tiny bit of effort and thinking from you. Capitalize on innate motivation, the deeper method. However, sometimes from my experience, that quick method isn't enough to motivate you or make the studying fun and fulfilling long term. Sometimes you just won't be in the mood to think, oh, why is this thing interesting? You're just like, ugh, I don't want to do this. And I can talk about why that is. But to minimize that feeling and to innately become motivated and enjoy the actual learning, I found a few things that have really, truly helped me. And I think the Octalysis framework is the best way to talk about these main things that have benefited me. For those of you who don't know, the Octalysis framework is from a book called Actionable Gamification by a guy called Yu Kai Choi, and it basically ranks the 8 most important core drivers that basically pushes us humans to do anything. And I've incorporated 3 of these drivers in my life for years now, and I truly think that they're the biggest reason that studying is unconsciously more fun, enjoyable, fulfilling for me. The first most highest driver of human motivation is epic meaning and calling. It's when a person believes that they're doing something greater or for something greater than themselves. And yes, I know that sounds too idealistic, too superhero-y, but finding the bigger purpose, slowly developing it, and then having wider goals to do with it, or in my case, having milestones that I continuously work towards to one day accomplish, is the true way to constantly be motivated to study and naturally start to enjoy not only the actual stuff that you're learning, but the entire process that you're going through. And it starts with you asking yourself why you're doing what you're doing, the deeper reason, which of course is very difficult. I don't even 100% know it yet. It comes over time. So the easiest way I found to look at this is to always aim towards 1 or 2 or 3 milestones that I'm constantly working towards. The latest milestones that I'm working towards, one is for YouTube to 100x my views in a year's time. I started this in June and thank God we're well on our way there already. Another huge milestone for me is to get a certain score in the USMLE and to graduate with a certain score this year in medicine. Again, for those of you who don't know, the USMLE is a long, content-heavy 8-hour exam, and I'm planning on gradually studying for with all my medical school content for another year or so. And each of them has a deeper reason that links to my overall aim of where I want to be. So come up with your own milestones. Change them, adapt them, develop them, and try and make them like this cringy, heroic, motivational mission in your head. The point of this is to move away from this passive person that's just slowly floating away, studying for the exams, trying to just get through school, and become that focused individual that has those wider milestones that they're aiming towards, the North Stars. Because that is what truly will motivate you long term. It'll allow you to not feel lost. It'll make you more focused, and eventually it'll help you find true fulfillment and enjoyment with the work that you're doing. Quick pause in the video. If you've enjoyed it so far, please leave a like, spam the comments, let me know if you actually want me to make this into a full guide if you're finding it helpful, and let's get back right into it. The second big motivator is accomplishment and development. In simple words, add achievement to your studying or learning. This is where you can focus on gamifying the entire process to make it fun. I've naturally done it over time in two ways: a macro way of creating accomplishment and a micro way of adding this accomplishment into my daily study sessions. The macro way of doing this links to that previous epic meaning step. What you need to do is break down those big milestones into the required weekly tasks. These are the tasks that you want to accomplish every single week to eventually get to that milestone months from now. Again, simply put, I have a weekly task list, and I'll put a picture of it up just to show you what it looks like. And all I do every day is take 2 minutes out to put tasks from this weekly list into my calendar. This way, I'm one by one, step by step, working towards those big milestones every single day. Accomplishing things, ticking topics and tasks off. But as you can see here, the thing that actually benefits you is that you've created structure. You have a simple big goal, you have a practical plan that you decide on, and the more you accomplish, the more confidence you'll have, the better you'll feel, and ultimately the more you'll innately enjoy the work, even if you don't like some of the subjects that you're doing. We're highly logical beings. If we see positive patterns, positive trends, if every day we set out to do the work and actually end up doing the work, we will feel fulfilled and happier. It just takes you away from this mindless, floating around feeling where you're just moving with no direction, just doing your deadlines and homeworks with no clarity. To summarize, you have that big goal, you're narrowing it down into a few milestones, and for each of those milestones, you have the weekly tasks that you need to get done every day. I do talk more about how I organize my life in a simple, systemized way in this video right here. It's 5 minutes, give it a quick watch. But as for the micro way of adding accomplishment, as I've said before, I convert all the information I process into questions instead of notes, right? I do this because I want to test myself on those questions, but when I do test myself on those questions, depending on how I answered it, whether I knew it, whether I kind of knew it, or whether I didn't know it at all, I highlighted green, orange, or red. Seeing those green questions, getting answers right, even if it is a few out of 20, adds accomplishment. Purely because we are visual beings, and that green or even that orange represents some sort of positive progress. This way I can also see exactly which topics and subtopics I'm getting or not getting, and it's all clearly laid out, and I can clearly see my progress and development. And the third main idea is creativity and feedback. To be honest, my main way of feedback is through highlighting the questions green, orange, red, doing past papers. That is just immediate feedback. But the way I actually make the studying more fun in this case is through the creativity, even though I'm not a very creative person. Number one, that means I use multiple things, videos, resources, diagrams, flowcharts, all to understand that one topic. Studying at the end of the day is kind of like a creative process. Yes, you have a few set resources that you're reading through, but actively trying to find different combinations, different perspectives to understand this one thing. Doing all of that makes the process more interesting and fun. And number two, when I'm learning something, I always try and think about how this applies to other parts of the world, how it applies to other parts of my life. For example, one day you can learn about euthanasia or assisted suicide through a textbook or a video and understand it, but 5 days later you might meet a patient and then their debilitating condition just makes you question everything that you've ever learned. But the point that I'm making is that learning is very translational, and that's a very cool aspect to think about. It automatically just makes me more engaged with what I'm doing. Now that you've added, what do you remove? I've now talked about what you can do in a single study session to enjoy it more. I've talked about the 3 core drivers that will fuel your motivation and all of the studying that you have to do. All of these things add to your life by making the studying more fulfilling and enjoyable. But an important aspect that no one really talks about is what to remove. Honestly, having choices around us is our biggest crutch. What this means is if you give your brain the choice of your phone or reading through your work, if you feel even slightly lazy, you will automatically opt for the phone. Why? Because it's easier and your brain knows that it's quick dopamine, that it's more fun. When the reality is that it is never innately fulfilling or enjoyable, because after 2 hours of scrolling, you always walk away going like, bro, what did I actually just do with my life? Whereas the 2 hours of reading actually makes you feel more fulfilled, Why? Because you've progressed towards the actual things that you want to do, your milestones. So the point is, you don't technically need to change anything huge about the work in order to make it more fun. You can't magically make it more addictive or as dopamine inducing as social media. But what you can do is limit and remove those highly stimulating things like social media, YouTube, Netflix. All of this extra stimulation and kind of a waste of time that makes the studying feel less fun. YouTube was honestly my biggest distraction, and so the last few months I've been using this extension called DFTube that blocks all the thumbnails, titles, notifications that come from YouTube. All of the other social media apps are on timers and I barely ever get any notifications. I tried my best to limit the addictive nature of those apps, and now I kind of just feel natural. I rarely ever use them. And because of that, in the lulls throughout the day, my mind naturally wanders to the things that I have to actually learn about, or the video ideas I have. It's not just being numbed by all the rampage of stimulation that comes from these apps. And in turn, I'm more active, more in tune, more interested and ready for the actual learning. My take on gamifying the learning. The word gamifying and gamifying your learning has been a big trend on YouTube recently. Even the founder of Duolingo made a TED talk on this recently and it went viral, didn't it? But gamifying in its literal sense is actually quite dumb. It's the cheap way of adding a little bit of addictiveness to the studying, so to make you want to do it a bit more. It should not be the way we make ourselves find more enjoyment and fun with the learning long term. I think I've probably used that word in this video or even in my past videos, but it feels counterproductive. Making the studying feel more addictive is not what makes it fun. It's a temporary fix. Innately starting to create interest and intrigue is actually what makes the work fun. Having a bigger mission or bigger aims or milestones that truly matter to you. Creating real accomplishment with what you actually want to be doing. That is what will make you feel good about the work, make you feel proud and make you feel fulfilled, which in turn will make everything that you're doing in your life more enjoyable. Work used to be at the bottom of the list of fun things to do for me, and now I can honestly say that learning new things is the highlight of my day. That sounded like the most ultra nerd thing in the world. The important factor that I didn't mention that takes your work and your enjoyment and fulfillment of it to the next level is your ability to focus and get into the flow state every single day. Here is a video that talks about exactly that. It is a full-length guide on how I have increased my focus over time over the last few months, and honestly it is the video that I've made that has honestly changed my own life the most. And this is that 5-minute video on how I organize my life. To be honest, while making this video I've realized that I actually have a lot more to say about innately, naturally finding enjoyment with your studying and learning, and I do want to make this into a full guide. If you guys are interested, let me know down in the comments. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. I really hope this has helped. Leave a like, spam the comments, and I will see you in the next one.